without having the landmarks like they can. Now, as we go through the figures, 32.4, 32.5, 32.6, that's all different parts of the arteries that are branching out from the core to the rest of the body. And in 32.7. In 32.8 is your venous system schematic. So again, just like we saw with the arteries. Now they're only giving you the right side because the left side is a mirror image. It's exactly the same. So the arteries are a little bit different plumbing up top. But with the veins, the left and the right match each other perfectly instead of being weird like the arteries do. And then you go through the different venous system, 32.9, 32.10, 32.11, 32.12. Now, instead of going through each one of those pictures and crossing out the order, I can ask these arteries, and of course L and R's means that we need to know the left and the right. And this is the only time I make you know left and right. So if I point to the left common carotid artery, you got it wrong. Okay, so right and left are going to be important. Artery and vein is going to be important. If I point to the left common iliac artery and you write left common iliac vein, it is wrong. It's a completely different vessel. And this is why cardiovascular surgeons are a little bit, it's because very, very important lefts and rights and all that kind of stuff. So if it's on this list, you've got to know it. So you can use this to mark off the stuff on the pictures if you want to, but use this as that common reference. Upper body refers to above the diaphragm, lower body is below the diaphragm, other than the descending abdominal aorta, just because I put all the aorta stuff together. Okay. And then, of course, we'll need to be able to point to all of these on the models, unless they're not on the models, and we'll mention those. And of course, if it's not on the stick figure, it's not on the stick figure. I'll mention the stick figure. Okay. So these are all the arteries we got to know. These are all the veins we've got to know, lefties and rightsies, unless they don't have them here. And then, of course, the hepatic portal circulation, fetal circulation is next week. Ignore the word cat. And these are just helpful questions for you. Nothing that you have to turn in. So this is your vessels that you'll need to know for this practice. Now, your blood vessel bonus that is due on Thursday, that's this bad boy, that's the stick figures. So you've got the artery guide and the vein guide. When looking at the artery and vein guide, we label these with those blood vessels that were on the list of blood vessels you need to know. So if it says not on stick figure, don't put it on the stick figure because it's not there. I know I say it sarcastic because every semester somebody puts it on the freaking stick figure and it doesn't belong there. Yes.
Oh, so are the jugulars up towards the top?
Yes. So these
Nice,
are
okay.
anatomical position. Now, this obviously is your heart.
Mm-hmm.
This is your diaphragm. These are your kidneys. This is not a leg. Okay? This is not your crotch. Okay? This is not a foot. Okay? Same thing over here. This is your heart. This is your diaphragm. This is your liver. This is your kidneys. That is not your crotch. That is not your leg. That your knees down here. Your feet are down here. Okay? This is just looking at branching patterns. Okay? So if anybody writes something about feet on here, I tend to go switch or something. There's no feet. Those are actually your knees right there. So when we look at that, we're looking at branching patterns. So here's our aortic arch. So ascending aorta, aortic arch, descending thoracic aorta, and the three branches off of it, which we've already learned. And then we go through the different vessels as we travel down those branches. Okay. So again, you would use that list, and every single one of those arteries or every single one of those veins, unless it says not on stick figure, is on the stick figure. Now, how you do that is up to you. If you have okay handwriting and you can write tiny, you can just write directly on the thing. So, I guess I'll just grab it here. So it may look like this. So that's all the vessels. If you write teeny tiny. If you're not confident in your teeny tiny writing abilities, you can make a list. So you can do 1, ascending aorta, 2, aortic arch, 3, descending thoracic aorta. Just keep in mind when you're doing that list, again, lefts and rights. You got to do the lefts and rights on these guys. And if you put it on the list, you need to make sure it's on your stick figure. So that's usually people's biggest mistakes. They'll make the list and they'll forget to put the guy on the list on the stick figure. Or they'll label the stick figure and forget to put the guy on the list. It's like, what is number 5? You didn't give me the. Okay. So lefts and rights on everybody. This is an annoying bonus. I admit that it's an annoying bonus. I don't like grading them, but it forces you to go through each of those vessels and find each of those vessels and label each of those vessels. So people who do the bonus usually do much better on the practical than people who skip it because it's annoying. It's usually the crappiest study methods often work. Like, I hate my life, but it works. Okay. So that will be due on Thursday if you choose to do that bonus. So you get a point per page. To complete those. Okay, so you just print them off, label them up, and that's those guys. Now, we are completely skipping figure 3213 because we did that on practical 1. The fetus stuff, I am going to do fetal circulation on quiz 5 material. So we'll look at it next week instead of this week. So ignore the fetus stuff right now. We're just going to concern ourselves with adult blood vessels. And then the hepatic circulation, they did give you a super close-up of the hepatic portal circulation. So that is also present on your veins. There's your hepatic portal circulation. It's glory. Okay, so that little guy's somewhat important. So you've got those. Okay. Big bad hairy question about this stuff. Okay. Looking at Beetgard, because I know you guys love him.
Wait, I'm sorry, Miss Sam. You said that we don't need to know figure 32.2, or we do?
32 point what?
2?
Did you say 2?
Yes, ma'am.
Correct. It's a slide. We don't use slides anymore. Slides are dead to me. Any other questions? All right, so this is what blood vessels look like without body parts. Okay, so this would look similar to the schematic. Can we see good? Do we need more darkness? More darkness. You're so dark. So this is all of the ones that you have to know for the practical. So I eliminated all the stuff you don't have to know. So of course, in this case, our blue are going to be veins and our reds are going to be arteries. So here we have our top stuff. So again, we've got the ascending aorta, the aortic arch, the descending thoracic aorta is behind the heart, and then the descending abdominal aorta is over here below the diaphragm. Our branches, again, we have the brachiocephalic artery, the left common carotid, and the left subclavian. Left subclavian comes up, passes the first rib, is going to become the axillary artery. It passes the teres major, becoming the brachial artery. So your brachial artery actually starts up here, goes all the way down here, where the arm would be. And then it's going to branch into the ulnar artery along the ulna and the radial artery along the radius. The ulnar artery oftentimes is a little bit more delicate looking because even the ulna is a little bit more delicate looking than the radius. Okay. Our left common carotid comes up and it's going to branch into the left internal carotid that is going to go into the head and the left external carotid artery that's going to go on the outside. The brachiocephalic comes up, branches into the right subclavian artery and the right common carotid artery, and the right common carotid is going to branch into the right internal carotid and the right external carotid artery. And of course, the right subclavian will then branch into the right axillary artery, then the right brachial artery, then the right ulnar artery, and the right radial artery. There's the below the belt stuff. Okay, so again, that's not crotch. That's actually a little bit higher than that. Over here is crotch. Okay. That's his testicles, so yeah, definitely crotchy area. We are going to have the descending abdominal aorta. We're going to have the left renal artery and the right renal artery going to the kidneys. Kind of hard to see because his celiac trunk kind of flopped down. In real life, it comes straight up, but of course he's dead, so it kind of flopped a little. So you have the celiac trunk and the branches of the celiac trunk. You have the gastric artery, you've got the splenic artery going to the spleen, and you've got the common hepatic artery going to the liver. Then, of course, we've got the left testicular artery and the right testicular artery going to the testicle. And then we're going to have the left common iliac artery and the right common iliac artery that will branch into the left internal iliac artery and the left external iliac artery. And on the right, again, the right external iliac artery and the right internal iliac artery. Once we get out, we have the left femoral artery. That what they're calling the profundal femoris, that's the deep femoral artery. We'll call it deep because deep is easier than profundus. Right? So it goes deep. And in your lab book, it says the deep artery of the thigh. Our left femoral continues down. Then we have the left popliteal artery behind the knee. That will then divide into the left posterior tibial artery to the posterior side of the tibia and the left anterior tibial artery on the anterior side of the tibia. And then that will go into the dorsal penis artery. Right has the same branch pattern. So right femoral artery, right deep femoral artery, right popliteal artery, right posterior tibial artery, right anterior tibial artery, right dorsal penis artery. Super duper close up of the thoracic cavity so you can see a little better the celiac trunk, and the branches of the celiac trunk would be the gastric artery, the hepatic artery, and the splenic artery coming off, and then the renal artery, left renal and right renal. And then I totally forgot to mention the inferior mesenteric artery coming off there, and the superior mesenteric artery is right here. Okay, so it pops off right below the celiac trunk. So kind of a little above the renals. And of course, commons, internals, externals. Question about arteries? All right, so your veins. Again, the superior vena cava, inferior vena cava. So our veins mirror each other more than the arteries because the arteries have 3 vessels up here, so they don't mirror. So we've got the right and the left brachiocephalic vein, and the left brachiocephalic vein will branch into the internal jugular vein and the left subclavian vein, and then the left external will pop off of that. The model we have sucks, okay? And I'll show you the sucky guy in a minute. But unfortunately, the model was made by somebody that didn't actually know anatomy, unfortunately. So they made the jugular veins look like the common carotids, even though they don't. Because with the carotids, again, you have the common that branches into the external internal, where the jugulars, the internal pops off, then the external. They don't share a common base. But unfortunately, the model is inaccurate. So the model makes the jugulars look like the carotids, except they're blue. Okay, so that's something that we have to deal with. That model has mistakes that we have to get over. Okay, so unfortunately, the model, even though it's not accurate, we don't have any other recourse. On the model, they're going to label the external jugulars, but they don't label the internal. They don't technically have internal because they didn't do the branching properly. So that's an unfortunate, one of the many unfortunate things with that model. Then after the external branches off the subclavian, we end up with the axillary vein, and then we have the brachial vein. Up here towards the top, you'll actually have the cephalic vein. So even though it says cephalic vein, it's not in the head. It's, again, they have the brachiocephalic branches into the cephalic and the brachial. So the cephalic and the brachial, both of them in the arm. Weird. Okay. Now the brachial comes down, the cephalic comes down. We also have a third little branch guy, that is the basilic vein. Okay. Now the basilic and the cephalic join with the medial cubital vein. Some folks will say antecubital vein. You can use them interchangeably. Technically, they're 2 different veins, but for right now, we're going to pretend they're okay. That's usually where they do your blood draws from. Because they connect the cephalic and the basilic, there's a slow flow right there. So it's a very obvious vessel, and the blood is flowing slower here, so it's easier to stop you from bleeding when they tap into you. So if you've given blood, they'll fill all along the inside of your elbow. Sometimes they'll hit it closer to the cephalic, sometimes they'll hit it closer to the basilic. That's the one they always check for the draws. Now, your brachial vein does not join the cephalic or basilic. It's going to continue down and branch into the radial vein and the ulnar vein. Right mirrors the left. So again, we have the right brachiocephalic vein, then we're going to branch into the right internal jugular and the right subclavian vein, then the external vein. Then you're going to have the right axillary and the right cephalic vein. As we continue down, the right axillary will branch into the right brachial vein and the right basilic vein. So that's that bad boy right there. And the basilic and the cephalic join together in the median cubital vein on the right side. And the brachial is going to continue down and branch into the right radial and the right ulnar vein. Below the belt, so again, we've got the inferior vena cava. You're going to have, unfortunately, this mess, which looks better right here. So you've got the hepatic portal circulation. You're going to have the hepatic vein. So this is the left hepatic vein and the right hepatic vein. Now, the hepatic veins, again, are coming from the liver. They're not a part of the hepatic portal circulation, but they're right there. This is your hepatic portal circulation. So you're going to have the inferior mesenteric come up and join the splenic vein. The splenic vein and the superior mesenteric are joining to form the hepatic portal vein. And after the hepatic portal vein has made, then the gastric vein swoops in and joins as a part of it. And the hepatic portal circulation, the hepatic portal vein goes to the liver so we can filter and store stuff from your lunch. And then we're going to drain into the venous system from that point. Okay, so that's that area without the zoomed out mess. Of course, we've got the left renal vein and the right renal vein. The left testicular vein joins up with the renal, where the right testicular vein actually goes straight into the inferior vena cava. So again, don't have her weird. And they have two different join points. And then, of course, we're going to separate the inferior vena cava into the left common iliac vein and the right common iliac vein. So then we keep branching down, and we have the right internal, or excuse me, the left internal iliac vein